Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
All right, everyone, let's listen into Felix here.
Winston and Felix here, and Albert. And while the royal band is playing YMCA for President Trump, you can't make this stuff up. And the king is looking kingly. The real winner of this state visit is none other than Palantir. Palantir is just confirmed the biggest contract ever outside of the United States. We're talking $1 billion. Where's my cat to the evil $1 billion thing? With the British Department of Defense, which is 10 times bigger than the last British contract that they got. Now, this is confirmed by The Times and The Spectator and Bloomberg and all the other mainstream media outlets that don't matter. And it brings together and it crystallizes a project that Palantir has been running with the Royal Navy. Everything is royal in the UK. It's shiny over there. This thing was called Project Kraken, which I imagine would therefore be, let's bring information together and let's bring it all to the CARP. And that's exactly what it is. So this project is not just important, it is an enormous milestone. And in my view, it is the beginning of a new beginning for Palantir. So I'm going to walk you through the agreement in short. I'm going to talk to you and show you what institutions are doing, what Wall Street's doing with Palantir, like live yesterday. Look at the stock chart and we'll see where the next entry point is for this little setup. Now, if you're wondering why you should listen to me, well, I made my first Palantir video in February 2021, when this stock was trading at about, there it was, around about $27. Now, I'm not one of those people who will hodl on for dear life, so I did sell it at some point. And then our last real entry point was back at, guess what, $28. And maybe you therefore think I am weak-handed. Yes, indeed. It's intentional, by the way. But if you'd held on for that entire 2-year period, you would have gotten 0 returns in that 2-year period. And yes, you are now rightly rewarded with the most beautiful rally ever known to man. Well, not quite, but it's up, hundreds of percent, 400% plus or thereabouts. And congratulations. But I choose my entries a little bit more carefully, and I'll explain to you a little bit about how that works. And it's basically because I learned this stuff as a banker, and the key to making money is twofold. One, don't lose a lot, right? And two, basically maximize the money over time, right? And if you figure that out, you likely do very, very much better than everybody else out there. And if you're wondering how to figure that out, I'll give you something even better than this. I will give you a 15-minute walkthrough of exactly how that actually works, like the when to buy, the when to sell, the how to automate the whole bloody thing. And it'll take you 15 minutes to learn. And you can get your hands on that at felixfriends.org/getfree, because it'll put you onto the path to getting free. But let's just break down this contract briefly so that we can move on to when do we actually want to buy this. So the UK military is the Navy. It is the Army, familiar so far, right? They have the Royal Air Force. It is, of course, also the Royal Navy and the Royal Army and so on. I don't know why they just call it the RAF, not the RAMI or the R Navy. And then what kind of data do these guys have? Well, first of all, they've got lots of legacy data systems that don't talk to each other. Well, they have medical records. They have payroll records. They have training stuff, information. They need to know where their assets are, as in, someone taking my tank down the pub on a Tuesday night. And what Palantir is doing is they're connecting all of this for everybody, up and down, so that they can all talk to each other. And that whole package is basically what AIP is, the AI platform of Palantir. And it allows you to actually make smart decisions. Now, given that this is the Department of Defense, or the Department of War, it was once the Department of War too, I think in sort of good old days when the Brits really hated the Germans, and they just hate them a little bit. I'm German, by the way. Sorry, my British friends. It gives you, well, real-time tracking. So you know where your tanks are, you know where your aircraft are, you know where your warships are. And what if you're fighting one of those wars? Well, it gives you the targets. It gives you how ready you are. Are you actually ready? Do you need to maintain that helicopter that's flying around a lot somewhere? And it's sort of taking the same stuff that, Airbus already implemented. Almost every aircraft in the world is run on a Palantir platform that they built together with Airbus, because that way maintenance is a lot easier. And the last thing you really want is you want to be, on a battlefield and going, oh, we forgot to bring the spare part. So the overall purpose is basically to be ready, war-fighting readiness, to create an integrated force. That's going to be the new word of the year, integrated, that actually talks to each other because it now has a common operating system, no longer lots and lots of systems because everybody got a contract. And as I said, first ever virgin billion-dollar deal outside of the US.
All right, guys, let's do a little breakdown of a LiDAR stock. LiDAR is what was expected to be used for self-driving cars before deep learning ate the world. Don't get too frazzled with all the shades and indicators here. All I really want to look at here is this news chart. And I don't think there's anything too notable here. Global security is definitely an unusual application here of LiDAR. But I guess that makes sense. So far from that first paragraph, I have learned nothing. Thermal imaging, 3D digital LiDAR data, I can't tell if this is a security camera type system or something else, like a data threat detection system. I think it has to be the former because these are actual sensors. So, with that in mind, "3D digital LiDAR data." So they don't actually do the LiDAR. They process the data, if I understand this correctly. Which is fine. That's actually a safer bet. If I have this right, I'm just looking over at this, my ChatGPT usage was too high, so I had to use an incognito window here. They merged with Velodyne, VLDR, a company I haven't heard of, but a large company. This all checks out. Industrial automation as well as the other two sectors. Everything about this sounds like they actually use LiDAR sensors. So maybe they do the data too. You know what? As retail investors, as investors who are looking for momentum and who don't want to get caught up in the details that could lead us astray, I'm actually not that worried whether they do the data or the actual collecting of the data. But it sounds like what they do is the actual collecting of the data. And this partnership didn't actually result in much movement of the stock, so we can pretty much ignore it. As far as big moves in the stock, whatever the heck happened after earnings in May was big. And it was actually just the earnings. So this is interesting too. Defense Department approval on June 11th. So that's big too. That could be pretty important in the future for a big government contract in the drone space. UAVs, UAS is the new acronym, apparently. This looks promising. We went from 2D to 3D. Okay, let's jump into a breakdown here before we get into financial analyst mode, which does not make us money. It makes us overeducated. We want to be a little bit undereducated and a little bit focused on what's happening right now, so we don't get caught up in theory. All right, let's do a breakdown here.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
There's one stock that is OUST, Ouster. It's a LiDAR stock. It's partnering with AI companies. It's doing data threat detection. And it recently had a agreement with the Department of Defense and an approval to be used in unmanned aerial systems, which is huge considering the hundreds of millions of grant potential that could come out of such a collaboration. So let's jump into the chart and make sure we're buying this at a time that makes sense, even if we know nothing about what I just talked about. And then we'll jump back into the value investor stuff, so we make sure if we don't look at our portfolio for a couple weeks, we don't feel like we're going to get completely smoked. All right, this is not financial advice. Let's take a look at this partnership and this chart, okay? This is the partnership on June 11th, approved by the Defense Department for unmanned aircraft. And here is the chart, okay? This is June 11th. You can see that move since that date. And this move is based off of those Q1 earnings in May. Now, if we zoom in even more, why right now? Well, it looks like it's coiling up and it's going to keep going up. People call that a flag, right? I don't get too focused on using the word flag, because if you start using the word flag, you start seeing flags everywhere. And what we're trying to do is find just a few stocks each day that are the best in the entire market, based on not only what they look like, but also based on them being in a sector or category that is attracting attention. And AI, more specifically LiDAR, which is used to collect data through these sensors and then used in processing algorithms. For example, reinforcement learning, which is a new application in self-driving cars. Previously, we had neural algorithms, machine learning, deep learning. Reinforcement learning is more recently being applied. And that's why this is a more recently interesting company, ticker, stock. Back to the chart. Chart looks good, right? You know nothing. The chart looks good. That's, of course, how I started looking at it, was not what it did, but the chart. And there's a pretty clear spot to buy at over 30. There's another spot at 32.5 and another spot up here around 35, 36, with the high being 36.25. On a broader numerical estimation, you risk $1, you make 10, right? That's kind of the idea. And if we zoom out, is 10 possible? I think so. It's certainly gone down a lot, and every stock went down in 2022 right here. But essentially what we're trying to do is get back up to $10 higher, which is about 42 from 32. This is so far back, there's unlikely to be much resistance there, because these guys will already have sold down here. And then from there, you have a lot of sort of blue sky, considering that, again, this whole segment of buyers and sellers is not really holding the stock anymore. People were holding the stock who bought down here, okay? So when everyone's making money, that's good. And that's why there's a lot of gap fill potential, which isn't really an accurate term, because, again, this is actually only visually relevant. There's actually not going to be resistance there. Of course, when something's visually relevant, it sometimes does lead to resistance as a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, as traders, investors do see that back there and act on it. So look, it's in a good spot. They do AI sensors. Autonomous driving is slowly becoming a reality. It's a hot sector. We can jump a little more into what the heck this company does. Of course, there's a lot of different applications for LiDAR. GIS mapping. It could be used for stuff like Google Maps or defense applications, of course. And then like remote sensing, difficult, hard to reach environments, glaciers and all that stuff. But really, we're talking about weapons, right? The military as the biggest funder of this type of tech. And look, they are going to be used to robots as well. There haven't been any huge agreements with humanoid companies. This is a company they merged with, VLDR. And there is another company, LAZR and INVZ as well, which are relevant peers. So that's what these guys look like. None of these stocks look particularly, INVZ actually looks like it's slowly building out a long base. I don't know when this is going to go. It could be a while. But I do think that Ouster looks the strongest. It's forming these higher lows, and it's had a lot of buying interest here. So those are the peers. Of course, Google's a peer, but it's not, unless there's a specific mention of LiDAR, it's unlikely the movement of Google is going to affect this LiDAR stock in particular, okay? Now, making sure that they have some real customers, Volvo, Daimler Group, this is legitimate, okay? There are some companies that also use their sensors sort of on a second, third party capacity. And then industrial automation is another future application, with these companies being relatively unknown to me, at least, and I think to most people. But Amazon Robotics, there are some brand names that they could partner with at some point. They just have a ton of applications as a components company, a sensor company. They're hitting all of these hot sectors: drones, industrial automation, self-driving cars. Not even talking about these sort of boring, state level contract opportunities. Caterpillar, John Deere, mining. But this is really what we're talking about. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, big subcontracting opportunities. And of course, NASA and federal agencies. So this is really overkill to say you could use a sensor in pretty much everything. Okay, that's not really fair. They just happen to be a company that is very base level. Okay. Importantly, this is what we want to know, right? Do they make money as investors? And they do. Okay, not much, but it is up. The loss is better than expected. They do have a healthy growth margin, and they've got cash. Okay, so what more can you really ask for? This was actually Q1. Q2 was up though, and pretty much similar, improving. Loss per share beat revenue, and gross margin actually improved. So this was the earnings that made it go up so much right here, which is a pretty significant, I don't know what that is, maybe 20, 30% plus revenue improvement. They did have, it seems like, healthy revenue guidance, which is about similar to what they currently have for revenue. Any risks? Well, they are unprofitable. Okay. We talked about that. Losses are narrowing, and we talked about margins and cash. Okay. So there hasn't really been any news recently, but if you do look at the chart, sometimes with these smaller companies or even bigger companies, it's not really about news always. It's about what is this chart theme developing versus a sector theme. It's a chart theme. So some of these charts might be in different themes. UMAC, another one that looks good. And then TEM. TEM is not in the same industry as OUST, but the chart looks great. Okay, so a fund could be accumulating both of these tickers based on attributes that are not totally visible to us, based on the volume, based on the price level, based on some type of weird feature, like the fact that their earnings were both narrowing losses or something like that. But we don't have to speculate. Here's a stock. It looks good on the chart. It's in a sector that's super useful now and in the long term. And if this thing helps you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you want to chat about what tickers to buy, head over to stockscommunity.com. It is 7-day trial, $25 fee. Keeps the bots out, lets you try it out with a tiny piece of skin in the game. And I don't know, see if it's worth it. I will see you in the next one. And remember to hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
Let's see what Felix is up to.
10 times larger than its previous deal with the UK government. So it's a big one. It's a bigly one even. And when you see President Trump there in his tails and looking all nice at the King's dinner, you're kind of thinking, well, this is part of the trade deal, wasn't it? Trump negotiated this, didn't he? And that's also a little bit where the criticism comes in. But there is a softener for the Brits, and there's something that us investors need to understand because it's a big deal. Palantir is committed 1.5 billion pounds, that is sterling, sort of the monkey money that used to run the world, sorry, over 5 years to go into the little island known as the UK. That's where the Brits are going to say, Northern Ireland is part of the UK, therefore it's Northern Ireland. Technically, you're right. But nobody actually cares. Although you should be careful never to be rude to your Northern Irish friends. All right, so this is going to be signed during Trump's state visit. So clearly he has something to do with this. Otherwise, this wouldn't be happening. And you also see a lot of other big tech CEOs running around the king and Trump there. Now, there is some criticism around this, and then we look at what institutions are doing. And the criticism is this. So you have over here your sort of US of A, right? And then you have somewhere over here this small British island, which looks something like that. Doesn't look quite as phallic as that in real life, but you get the idea. And yes, there is Northern Ireland here somewhere. That's the UK. And what's, of course, been happening, I wrote US, slipper, Freudian slip. So what's been happening? Well, the US has, for the last couple of decades, been buying any good business that there is in the UK. And therefore, the UK sends a lot of money, its profits, back to the US. They'd probably send them to Ireland first, save tax, and then to the US, but it's the same story. So the UK, the former master of the United States, is now the colony. And that's the reality. So people are saying in the UK, well, would the US give a British company a $1 billion defense contract to literally run its operation, military operation? The answer, of course, is no, because the US has good technology and they don't need to. But you know what's going to happen next? There is France down here somewhere. If I could spell France. Or one of the common market enemies. If you get that reference, you're as bit as strange as me. Then here you have the Germans. I'm just going to write the Germans, because you know what I'm talking about. They're gonna sign up to the same platform. The Germans are going to do it. The Italians are going to do it. They're down here somewhere. And then everybody else. Everybody else matters a lot less. Sorry if you everybody else. Well, probably actually what does matter a little bit will be, you know, Poland and all the Eastern Bloc countries. They are significant also in their sort of, you know, turn. And what it means is that Palantir is now the operating system for NATO. By the way, the Snow Mexicans are also going to sign up to this. Have we offended everybody equally? That's really what we need to ask ourselves. You can start with one. You gotta kind of like go everywhere, right? I have a good Canadian friend. She did not like that joke. But they're lovely people, Canadians, lovely people. Nice moose too. So now you understand that. Is that valuable? Because you now have this cash flow from solvent first world countries, and it's going to continue for more or less forever after, until some technology comes out that is so much better than AI that Palantir becomes irrelevant. Maybe it'll happen one day. But for the moment, it's going to be a lot of cash flow. So does that mean that institutions are falling over themselves to buy TradeVision? Sorry, TradeVision. Palantir. TradeVision is the platform we use. You go to TradeVision, click on trades up there, and then you type in Palantir here, and you look at what happened yesterday. And what do you see? Very bearish. Institutions are very bearish. How do we know this? Well, this is the dark pool, the dark cesspool where Wall Street trades privately without you knowing. And they're very bearish. What does it mean? Well, they sold $60 million worth of call options. Why? Let me show you why. You see the candle from yesterday? That it was yesterday as I'm recording this. And this is going to be educational. Now I'm going to give you points here, and I want you to write in the chat what those points are. 1, there is 2, there is 3. So 3 is the top, right? I'm going to give you that one. 4 is the bottom or the low. And what is 1 and 2? It's not intuitive, by the way, which is why I'm explaining it. That was the open, so the morning, how Palantir stock opened. And this was the close, so, 4:30 p.m. or whatever. So what actually happened is that the stock dropped that much. Not massively relevant. So for everybody out there who's going, but it dropped 1.1%, Felix, it's all over. Oh, calm down, my friend. But what actually happened is during the day, it dropped that much. And yes, some of you were, open mouths, hair standing up going, ooh. And others realized that very shortly after it dropped all that way, the Palantards came out. And they, in their infinite loyalty and fealty to Peter Thiel, Karp, bought the dip. So what it actually means is that, yes, we had this low, but we actually recovered. So therefore, this is the only red candle that is a bullish red candle. It's a good red candle. It's a good sell-off, right? And therefore, it's quite a positive setup. Now, why did all these institutions sell yesterday? Well, let me add one line for you here. I'm going to toggle on the 50-day moving average line. And that's going to give us a little yellow line down here. See this line? It's the line of lines. It's the line that all lines want to be. It's called the 50-day moving average line. And when you touch that and you bounce off it, well, it's actually a good thing. Why? Because this is sort of your ultimate support. You don't want to drop below that. But what happened is we dropped below it briefly. So a lot of those institutional guys who have those rules hard programmed in, they might have sold. They might have also looked at the recent lows and thought, well, that's our support. That's where I take my profits. And therefore, they might have sold here or there. So it kind of makes sense why they did. It also creates an opportunity because now there's money that might want to go back into it. Does that make some sense to you? Does that add some value? Do you want an extra golden nugget? If it makes add some value, put a V for value in the chat. You want an extra golden nugget? Put an N for nugget in the chat. And I'm going to give it to you. Click on support in TradeVision, the only platform in the world where I believe you get this data because we make it ourselves. We calculate it ourselves. We cook it up ourselves. Cook it is probably not the right word to use with data, is it? So you got two lines. You have the first line in green. That is your support. How do we know that? That is where Wall Street, your lovely friends on Wall Street, where they buy. So that line here is the support. And then you also have in red at the top here, you can get access to this. There's a free trial, the TradeVision. Just check it out where it is today. That is your résistance. You have to say that in a French accent and sort of snarl slightly, get a cigarette out to be French. And that's where Wall Street is expected to sell. At the moment, that sits at $175. Tells you there in the corner. So what does that mean? Well, it means we actually have a little bit of room to go up. Plus, this support line is actually moving up. So the resistance line is actually moving up, while the support is sitting nice and steady down here. This is a very healthy setup. That's all I'm saying. I'm not telling you to buy it. I'm just saying it's a very healthy setup. So I like it. I like it. And if, judging by the pre-market as I'm recording this, we break out of these highs here, which sit at about, call it 172. We break out above 172, I think we're on up to the next rally by my rules. So the Fed's done its thing. It was all right. We survived it. Rates are going down. Trump isn't just getting trade deals. He's forcing his trading partners to buy US products and US services. And Palantir is now at the forefront of that. It used to be Microsoft deals or Google deals, and they're all there. They're all in London. You can't shake a stick without hitting a tech billionaire in London at the moment, apparently. And it's good news. Now, if you're a Brit and you're like, I hate that my country's been sold to the US, yeah, I get it. It's not brilliant. But you know what you can do? Selfishly, you can just buy US stocks because that's the only way some of this money finds its way back into the United Kingdom. And then ideally leave the United Kingdom so you don't pay tax. Otherwise, you're going to hand it over to the apparatchiks that run you at present. What's this chap? Stalin? Lenin? No, Starmer. That's the one. So there we go. All right. Offended everybody equally, I hope. If you got some value out of this video, learn how these rules actually work. Because when we look at the stock chart, there is a pattern to it. There is a rule book to it. The pattern happens again and again and again and again. And it gives us these very sweet entry points that tell us when we want to be buying a stock. And those sweet entry points then very often convert into very nice profits. And you can learn it for free. felixfriends.org/get-free. That's all you got to do. Watch 15 minutes of that. And if you got some value out of this, share it with a friend. Somebody told me there is a hype button. If anybody finds the hype button, let me know. And I wish you tremendous success. All the best. The US government is rumored to be creating a $5 billion rare metals fund. At least that's what my cat research analyst tells me. This is Tabitha, the brains behind it. And this could literally be the investment opportunity of a lifetime. And I've been talking about this for months. More on that in a second.
All right, guys. How about we check in on old Corey here? If you got any comments on stocks, go ahead and drop those, and we will discuss those. Okie dokes.
In this video, we're going to talk about a stock that has ties to and is partnered with NVIDIA, and NVIDIA backs them, and this is a stock I've talked about.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. Actually don't have that much going on the memory right now.
In this video, we're going to talk about a stock that has ties to and is partnered with
And we're only in
NVIDIA.
70,
NVIDIA backs them, and this is a stock I've talked about many times in the past. And right now is, in my opinion, the time to start really looking at this stock, and it is Navitas, NVTS. This stock right now is about to approach the apex of demand for SiC and GaN chipsets because of the efficiency of them and how they solve problems for big data centers and server chips like NVIDIA's and AMD's. And because they're able to make these efficient chips better than anyone else, arguably, and they're pretty much one of the only companies doing this, and because they have proprietary technology with their SiC and GaN, makes it an even more attractive buy. But there's a lot of things to go over with Navitas, and we're going to do that in this video right now. However, I do this consistently in Discord, and you can see right there on the screen, I put out trades from Microsoft, Tempest AI, Meta, Reddit, SoFi. I also put out trades on CoreWeave, Micron, and Meta previously a few weeks ago, and we just did Oracle, Broadcom, and Snowflake. And you can see on the screen those trades and the profits that were made by my students. I have students that made $83,000 the last 2 weeks, $129,000 in one trade, and my student Xander went from $12,000 to $100,000 in less than a month with the most recent trade activity in my Discord. So this is what I do. I find stocks that are undervalued, oversold, and I break them down to see if they're worth it, look at technical analysis, and I use my proprietary made analytical tools like my DFib, D-Stochastics RSI, and my AVP, which is very popular, and I teach in the Discord, and it's very powerful. It's how we're making consistent income in the Discord all the time because of trades just like this. I also did it last year. If you've been watching me, you know I've seen a lot of comments on my YouTube channel over the past few weeks of everyone who's been printing just on my YouTube channel alone. That's just scratching the surface if you're not even in the Discord, because we're making way more in Discord. So you can see what I'm doing on YouTube is just a taste of what's going on in the Discord. I called out SoFi at $6 last year and $11 in March and April of this year. Now it's over $27. I called SoundHound at $3.50 last year. It went to 22. It dropped to 8. I called it again, and now it's in the 12, 13, 14 range. I've been calling these stocks all year long. Palantir, I called at 15, and it ran all the way to 1 180. I even said it would pull back to 150, which it did. Now we have another dark pool trade in the Discord. So if you want to make profits like I've just discussed, like I've showed you, you can sign up at any time. The information to get started with Discord is the information below. The link is there to get started. Look forward to helping you guys grow your portfolio. So I've had a lot of people ask me to show the actual trades in the Discord, which I'm about to do. But trading and investing gave me the life I've always wanted. It's how I'm able to afford the cars and the things I've always wanted to do, take my kids and family on vacation. It really is a great life, and you deserve it and can do it too. I'll show you right quick the profits in the Discord. This student is up $200,000 right here, up 40 and 15% for most recent trades. This student is up $100,000 in a month. This student made $500 on one put contract that he sold. This student made $1,000 in 1 week on one small trade. This student is $65,000. My student JS went from $65,000 to $212,000, $83,000 in 1 month in September. This student right here just thanked me for holding on to Leap options, dollar cost averaging, and managing a Tesla trade and made $10,200. This student made $5,200. Gordon made $5,200 on a $67,000 account in 1 week, which is incredible. It's like 7% per week, 40% for this student, and $58,000 in 1 week for this student. So if you guys want to make these types of profits, I would love to help you. Link to get started is below. Do not put it off. What you put off today for tomorrow, someone else put off yesterday for today. Take action now. Let's get you on the right path right now to grow your portfolio. Navitas has found itself in the spotlight after news underscored its position as leader in the next wave of high-efficiency chip technology. The company's patented silicon carbide and gallium nitride solutions are attracting fresh attention from investors, especially as reports anticipate a surge in adoption of these materials by electric vehicle and data center manufacturers. With the market beginning to make a bigger move toward an 800-volt equipment, many are starting to wonder if Navitas is about to ride a significant industry growth wave. Looking at the stock's recent performance, Navitas has delivered a strong one-year gain, surging 141% over the past year. However, recent months have seen momentum cool, with the shares down 16% in the past month. This pattern captures the push and pull between optimism about the company's sector leadership and caution around its ongoing losses. The past year's large move upward shows investors are positioning for future growth, but the near-term volatility signals persistent questions about how soon that promise can translate into profits. The real question on many investors' minds is whether Navitas is set for further upside if these trends play out, or if the market is already reflecting all that growth potential in its share price. The prevailing narrative sees Navitas Semiconductor trading below its fair value, suggesting analysts believe there is a meaningful upside potential from the current price based on the future earnings growth and higher profit multiple. One of the things to consider is that Navitas is not only going to be helping AMD and NVIDIA with better cooling and better efficiency and 800-volt chipsets with their GaN and SiC, but they're also going to be in appliances, moving their way into EV vehicles and other tech across the globe, which is potentially going to mean very strong growth for Navitas. However, ongoing margin pressure and delayed revenue recovery from softness in key end markets could challenge the bullish valuation narrative for Navitas. Navitas reported its second quarter 2025 financial results in early August. The company reported $14.5 million in revenue, which was down from $20.5 million the same quarter of the previous year. In earnings per share, Navitas reported a non-GAAP loss of 0.05 cents per share, which was in line with analysts' consensus. The Q3 guidance, the company issued disappointing guidance for the third quarter, projecting...
Okay, guys, let's do a little breakdown here. So, this drone company looks pretty interesting. This move in late November, that was Donald Trump Jr. joining the board. Okay. We have an SEC filing from then confirming he owns 300,000 shares, or about 3 million, I guess we could say. But this is definitely interesting based on how it's firming up right now. And we also have some recent earnings as well. So I think there's a lot of potential here. You can see that is a loss, but doesn't seem to affect the share price right now. There's also a lot of blue skies up here, so this is a big deal, guys. I wouldn't say this is the only drone stock to invest in, but we're not really looking for all of them. We're looking for the best one. And of course, that changes over time. So at this particular moment, this is the ticker that we're looking for. Okay, so let's jump into a quick breakdown here and get going. Sound good?
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
There's one Donald Trump Jr. owned drone stock that is about to skyrocket, in my opinion. The ticker is UMAC, UMAC. Let's jump into the chart right now so you can see what I'm talking about here. Look at how this thing is going sideways. Look at how it held earnings. And look at this level right here at 11.7 going back to early this year, right before the tariff plunge. That's significant. Now, back here, this euphoria is when Donald Trump Jr. joined the board on November 27th, this day right here. He did own 300,000 shares at that time, and there's been no SEC filing stating that he does not own those shares anymore. So he's a holder. The earnings are solid. And we have that 11.7 level. In terms of levels, there's one more here going back to June, about around that whole $10 level. And then there's 11.80 from about a month ago, 3 weeks ago. And then this early June level of 12.7. So why do we talk about levels? Because the price tends to act at those levels. Does it act bullish? Does it act bearish? That's to be determined. But the more levels you identify that are seen by others, the more you can pick a point at which to buy a stock or sell a stock if you already own it, and buy very close to a level and sell if it goes below that level. But in many cases, sell much higher up and make a large reward to risk trade. Okay, so a lot of blue skies up here. Risk $1, make 10. All right, that's the idea. Now let's jump into what this company does, so we can make sure that we are at least giving the slight indication of prudence here. This is the drone firm UMAC. They appointed Trump Jr. as an advisor on November 27th of last year, and that was the euphoria we saw. Okay. Now, they did have that earnings as well, and the earnings were okay. We did see that they were a loss, but if we look at the actual earnings here, I believe we had the earnings on here somewhere. I think they were okay. A lot of Q2 earnings were fine, and the reactions were still muted. The stocks went sideways or down. So the fact that this earnings was, it's only $2 million, but it is a 50% increase year over year. Reasonable gross margin. Reasonable loss, okay. It's a substantial loss. It's like 5 times their loss from last year. But there are sort of some financial engineering type gymnastics that do place their loss in a more favorable light. Look, it's a tiny startup. It's publicly traded. It's a euphoria penny stock. But it's not really a penny stock. I mean, it's over $10 at this point. So shades of gray there. But they do have cash. and they just raised another 45 billion in July, so they have over 80 million. Of course, if they're losing money, they're probably going to lose money in 2025 as well as a whole year. And with the Trump Jr. connection, they do seem to be paying their executives as well. And this is what happens with some of these tiny stocks. They become vehicles to enrich the executives, right? And also dilution machines. So that is significant, okay? This is unusual that I even look at dilution for a stock that I'm recommending someone buy, but this is actually one of those cases where you can see that they have about 30 million outstanding shares at this point. Okay, they do have cash, and if we get super granular again, these warrants could get exercised at any point, meaning more people could purchase the shares for the price that they got the warrants for and sell those. Okay, they don't have to worry about this. This is zero. This is a zero. Convertible notes. Converting to shares. But the point of this is a company that can sell more shares, okay? Quite a lot of shares into the open market. So that is a risk factor when you consider investing in a company with $5 million of revenue that does have a number of recent offerings into the market in the last few months for significant portions of their share price, rather their float, affecting their share price. Okay, if they've done offerings for like 5 to 10 million shares and their float's only 30 million that's available to trade as retail investors, that's going to affect the price of the stock. Okay, almost all the shares are in the float, so we don't have to worry about insider shares to any significant degree. But high level overview, yes, this thing has dilution risk despite it not needing cash and despite it having that celebrity influencer shareholder, Donald Trump Jr., who is in the administration effectively and could pull some strings in an appropriate fashion, but a fashion that probably isn't completely in the spirit of the guidelines of the SEC, right? So look, here's the deal, guys, ladies. It's a $10 stock. It looks good. Went sideways after earnings. Could go way higher. Look how it goes way higher. It does it. Sometimes it comes down. Risk a buck, make 10, maybe make 20. This is a more speculative name than I typically cover, but there's a very clear opportunity to buy it with tight risk despite it not being super proven. What do you want, right? You want every company to be totally fully formed? Well, then you would have no future Apples, no future startups. Little Freudian slip there. But look, if you like these picks, if you can handle sometimes losing, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to keep giving you picks and ideas. These are ideas, not financial advice. If you want to talk in a Discord, head over to stockscommunity.com. You can try it out for 7 days for $25. Give it a shot. Might be worth it. And again, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I will see you in the next one.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
Let's see what we got cooking here on the NVIDIA front
Revenue
and
about
VTS.
10 million. Following its Q2 results, Navitas announced a strategic focus on the AI data center and energy infrastructure markets. The company is leveraging its gallium nitride and silicon carbide technologies to support NVIDIA's development of next-generation 800-volt data center architectures. This can be very huge for Navitas. The market for GaN and SiC technologies in AI data centers is estimated to reach $2.6 billion by 2030. In May of 2025, Navitas and NVIDIA partnered to develop more power-efficient delivery systems for the new AI data centers. To support expansion, Navitas raised $100 million in capital and announced a new manufacturing partnership with PowerChip Semiconductors Manufacturing Corporation, PSMC, for 200mm GaN production. These are also very key fundamentals to the growth of Navitas. Looking at Navitas, you can see that it has pulled back quite a bit from a recent high of 942 and dropping into my AVP. My current AVP is between 425, 430, all the way up to around 650. So $4 to $6 is the buy range. My tighter AVP is actually between 450 and 550 right now. So it's right at the top or just above the AVP. It's right in that sweet spot where if you add now and it starts to drop, you could dollar cost average some more because we can see all of this upside right here. There's all this upside. So buying down here is really strong in my opinion. I think that if you buy some around $6 or less and it drops down to say 425, 450, you could dollar cost average and add more because there's a lot of potential for this stock and it's very unlikely that it would drop below the previous resistances, which are right around 420 to 450 right here, and it's right in line with this resistance here. So I'll clean this up and show you what I'm talking about. This line right here shows all of this support and resistance right here. This is a crossover point right here, and this is where the stock is highly unlikely to break. 450, maybe even a little bit higher, is the absolute bottom right now as long as there's no black swan event or something really negative. It could go below. It's very, very unlikely. So as you can see, this is the range that we're in. We have a lot of resistance up here in the $6.90 to $7 range, and lately it's been trading here. So you can see where it's at. We're almost in the middle. Anywhere between $5 and $6 is a really decent buying opportunity for this stock. I would just be adding. It's a very long-term play with GaN and SiC and helping AMD and helping NVIDIA and being partnered with NVIDIA and getting into EVs and electronics worldwide. It's inevitable that this stock will soar in the future as long as they become profitable and continue to grow. Now, every stock has a risk. Every investment has a risk. So do your due diligence. Do not put more than 10% of your portfolio in any one position. And obviously there's risk here, but there's a lot of potential, a lot of strong potential for Navitas. And I wouldn't want to miss out on this because of how strong the data centers and the chips are going forward in AI and quantum computing. And with 800-volt infrastructure, Navitas is very likely to be the king. Very likely. They're extremely undervalued right now. The average price is between $6.74 and $9, and it's at $5.92. So there's a lot of growth potential here. And you definitely want to take a look at Navitas and analyze it for yourself to see if this is what you want to add to your portfolio. Me personally, I think this is going to be one of the better investments, if not the best one right now besides Applied Digital. That's another stock that's doing very well. But as we can see, the price is really down. And when stocks are down, you start to add in dollar cost average and keep your eye on the news and the overall market sentiment. It's a way to continue to grow and add your position in any stock. Finding stocks like this and finding trades that are nearly identical is what I do in the Discord often. In fact, it's how my students make so many profits like you're seeing on the screen. So many trades over the past month. Students have been printing tens of thousands of dollars every week, some 60 or 100,000 plus on just one single trade. I've showed you earlier the printing that we've been doing in the Discord. I showed you live in the Discord trade section and profit section what my students have been doing. But don't just take my word for it. Let's take a listen to what my student Xander had to say, who joined my Discord just a month ago with $12,000 and turned it into 100,000 plus. We are here with one of my newest students, Xander. How you doing, Xander?
Good.
Awesome. Glad to hear.
Yeah, so when I was watching other YouTubers, they were really pushing a certain like mode of saying like, oh, you're gonna make $1 million, like over 500,000 with such a small account, and pushing so many numbers that just seems so unrealistic. Where you seem to push like a more focused strategy and actually explain stuff more to the point instead of just pushing the Discord. And it just made me pick yours over everyone else's. You didn't try and give unrealistic expectations, right? You actually gave a focused and clear strategy to how we'd make money.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. And that is the goal.
I originally started with $12,000 when I joined your Discord. I never done options before that. And it's kind of crazy what I'm at now. From $12,000 just a month in your Discord, I'm at just over $104,000. So just unbelievable, life-changing money. It's just crazy.
Wow. So you went from 12,000 over 104,000 in 1 month in the Discord.
Yeah, just unbelievable. Like, I couldn't believe it when I was did around 9 trades, and just the amount of success that your trades were and so accurate. It's like 9 of the 9 trades, 104,000 from 12. I couldn't thank you more. It's just been awesome.
Awesome. That is amazing success. And in 1 month, that is like a 10x return, which is
1,000%. Yeah, over 1,000% I made in 1 month, just from your strategies and just from what you've put out in the Discord.
Based on what it cost you to join and what you've made and the group itself and just overall the education I provide, is it worth it?
100%. Yeah, people need to understand that your Discord community is insane. I made, in the span of a month, I made 12 new friends that have just been helping me and explaining to me trades that I haven't even thought about taking that were put out from you, and just explain the trades and give me an overall better understanding of how your Discord works. And if anybody's thinking of joining the Discord, 100% please go through those training modules. They're step by step, and obviously they'll learn at your pace. So if you can't do it some days, it's okay. But those training modules really gave me a baseline of how to actually do the options, how to take Corey's trades. And once I got to the module, I got through in the week. I just destroyed them all. I love learning. After that, I started to take trades, and it just profits from there. Unbelievable. And I just couldn't thank Corey more.
So you heard my student Xander had to say. You want this to be your success story. Don't put off anything today for tomorrow as others have put off yesterday or today. Let's take action right now. Let me show you what you're doing wrong in the stock market so that I can help you grow your portfolio. It's what I love to do, help others achieve their goals just like Xander. I look forward to seeing you real soon in the Discord and on the next video. Take care of yourselves, fam. I'll see you very soon.
All right, guys, let's see what other folks are up to in the YouTube world. We got Chris Sane. We already looked at Felix. And we just looked at Invest with Corey. We could also see what Meet Kevin's up to. Other than that, I think that's pretty much the crew here. I mean, it's one thing to take a look at what happened with FOMC, but it's another thing to look directly at what's happening right now. I don't know that this is going to be that intriguing, given that it's live.
I'm curious to see what they can do with that. You know,
let's tune in.
I don't know if it's necessary.
In tune
Today, but
to the zeitgeist here.
I'm curious to see what they end up coming up with that. AI is the new industrial revolution. That's old news. We've heard them say that before. x86 architect, foundational to CPU. Yeah, this is just, bragging about, hey, we made an investment in Intel. Intel is great, by the way. All right. So this is for data center products. Intel will build custom x86 CPUs that NVIDIA will integrate into its. Okay, so I feel like that's for personal computing. Oh, wow. That's really interesting. So, to be clear, Intel is going to partner with NVIDIA for server CPUs. In personal, that's where you're going to see CPUs on GPUs. Wow, that's novel. Okay. NVIDIA's buying Kamisawa. Okay, we saw that. This aligns with the government's goals. We know that. This is old news. That's old news. Okay. I like it. I think it's a very interesting deal. And NVIDIA basically doesn't lose here because they probably got the Trump blessing, you know? So NVIDIA probably got the Trump blessing that NVIDIA wouldn't lose on this $5 billion investment. So, you know, really low risk for NVIDIA here. And that's supportive of the Qs. Mind you, that's also why we were bullish this morning in pre-market on the Qs, because we thought that broadly this sort of NVIDIA push in markets would be really good. I mean, NVIDIA's up 3% right now. That's huge. I mean, it's a massive company. I mean, it's just really back to where it was a few days ago. So is it really that big of a deal? No. But it means like all this, like the China bull crap basically just got undone. All right. So this concern, I should say, concern of NVIDIA being banned by China for purchase by Chinese companies basically just evaporated market
we can listen to Trade Brigade.
As NVIDIA
Might be
is
a
up
little
3%.
more forward-looking rather than present commentative. Let's see what we got cooking here from the Brigade.
Markets got exactly what they expected, a rate cut of 25 basis points, and markets closed virtually
Should be good
unchanged.
to go here.
Therefore, our base case from the Saturday analysis remains
5.
unchanged. So welcome back to the Trade Brigade Midweek Show, where we'll take a look through all of the data points that support
There we go.
the bullish base case remaining unchanged. My name is Matt, and if you're new here, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. For additional resources, check out the links listed down below in the description, and stay tuned until the end of today's show. I've got 4 additional trade ideas to share with you that you won't want to miss. With that said, let's jump right into the charts, starting right here on the SPY Daily. The framework we'll use today to speed it up is, does this threaten the base case? Simple answers, yes or no. We've started a pullback today from the all-time high. Does this threaten the base case? No. Is there a potential higher low? Yes. Does this threaten the base case? No. It supports the base case. You can clearly see that the low of today's wick is well above this previous all-time high level at 652.25. Let's take it on down immediately to the hourly timescale. Is this a firm daily higher low during the pullback? The answer is no, because the trend never actually flipped to down. You have highs, you have equal highs. You have lows, you absolutely have a lower low, but you do not have the missing ingredient, a lower low. So if the hourly trend is neutral, does this threaten the bullish base case? The answer is no. And therefore, as we move forward, I would like to see either bullish consolidation persist here, Brigade bolts into blue sky territories, or if we do drift into an hourly structural downtrend, that is fine. Noting that this is a soft daily higher low, we could find a firm daily higher low. A firm higher low only happens when the hourly trend actually flips to down, and I would still use this same zone. We have 654 and 652.25. If we go back to the daily timescale, another pullback that revisits this area would still be bullish, and the trend would still remain in the upward direction. A quick nuance that I'd like to point out on the hourly timescale is that obviously when we did break down underneath this low, and obviously the lows of Friday's session as well, you can see that on the rally back, there was no attempt from the sellers to yield a lower high. Not even some sort of like close here and then a bar that closes underneath. Nope, immediately back up for a 100% retracement. What this would indicate to me is liquidation break. Why is liquidation break important? Because number one, it indicates we do not have stronger sellers participating in the market. And number two,
I don't really like
shorts who are involved
listening
shorting,
to
even just looking for a scalp
macro
towards the low of the day,
speculation.
has likely stopped out of that short.
Despite the tone being measured. What about stocked up? I know this is kind of in the same vein, but
the Fed just cut
might
interest
be
rates for the first
a
time
little
in
chiller.
9 months, and the market was a complete chop fest. Today, we cover how interest rates are affecting the stock market, why it chopped so hard today, and what opportunities are lining up for tomorrow. We're not wasting any time either, so let's get right to it.
The market was wild today, but maybe not wild in the way that many people had expected. We can see that whenever the FOMC interest rate decision came out, we initially saw the market shoot up a little bit. We didn't necessarily get to all-time highs or anything, but then as the event went on, and especially whenever Jerome Powell started speaking, we did see the market start to shoot down a little bit more. And then it chopped right back up. So today was definitely a chop fest, Mike. It was a very choppy day, and I would say a hard to trade day for many traders out there. But let's go ahead and get into the details of what exactly happened. So the Federal Reserve cut interest rates by 25 basis points. There was no real surprise there. There was pretty much a 100% chance of a cut being priced in, and that's what ended up happening. So we saw the 25 basis point cut, and Fed officials actually don't see inflation getting back to 2% until 2028, and Jerome Powell indicated that the economy is also slowing down. So we're seeing a big shift here by the Federal Reserve, right? Jobs data is no longer solid, and it's forcing the Federal Reserve to do this 25 basis point cut. All participants agreed on this 25 basis point cut, except for one, which is Trump's new appointee, Stephen Moran, who actually voted for a 50 basis point cut. But Mike, I think the biggest thing to take from this is going into October now, this is also solidifying another cut coming into play. So this will be a big deal, and now there's actually being 3 cuts priced in 2025.
Here comes the rate cut cycle, and one thing that I thought was especially interesting about today's FOMC meeting is that we got an inside look as to what Fed officials expect out of the economy, and you could just say interest rates going forward. We got their updated dot plot, and we can see that there's a median expectation of around 50 basis points more in rate cuts for the rest of 2025. And of course, there's one Fed official who didn't want any cuts this year. That might have been Lisa Cook. We'll see. But there were 9 Fed officials who backed only 2 cuts or less, and there were 10 who backed 3 cuts.
Yeah, there were, and I actually am pretty happy with the overall Federal Reserve looking at more rate cuts this year. I mean, it's exactly what the market's pricing in. We can see that there's an 87% chance of a cut in October. There's an 80% chance of a cut in December, so that would be the final 2 cuts there. And on Kalshi, we can see that there's actually being priced in a 67% chance of exactly 3 cuts this year. And this was actually under 50% before today.
Okay, guys.
And I think that's something that really helps price
This
in.
is
Just how
accurate.
much stressed
I don't know if it's actionable. Let's take one more look, see if we can find another video that's more actionable and non-irritative. Perhaps here. This is yesterday, but it could still be
Welcome
fresh.
to the Reaction Channel, folks. Got a few things to discuss in this video here today. So last night on the main channel, Financial Education, I did a video called 2 Stocks I Will Buy Nonstop the Next 90 Days. And in that video, I also spoke about a few other subjects, and one of those was avoiding dead money stocks and how to best avoid those. You're sometimes going to, unfortunately, invest into a stock that maybe it doesn't crash, right? Maybe you even make money on it, but it's kind of dead money, and you hold it for years and years, and you look back and you're like, dang, I haven't really made crap for money on this stock. I hold one of these type of stocks right now. I want to speak about this, if I'm going to keep this stock, if I'm going to get rid of it, if I am going to keep it, what's keeping me in it, if I'm going to get rid of it, why I'm going to get rid of it, because I think it's actually a really important subject. So I hope you guys really enjoy that piece at the beginning of this video, okay? Public count, baby. Look at that. Inching closer and closer and closer to $4 million. Oh, I can sniff it. I can smell it, man. It's right there. Come on. Like, just do it already, public account. $3.94 million. Congratulations to everyone that closed at an all-time high here today or was very close to an all-time high in your portfolio. Congratulations to you guys. You deserve it. Google stock continues to roll heavy. This stock now up 60+%. I posted this on my X page here today. If you don't follow me on X and you ever want to follow me on X, I always have it linked in the description area of all my videos. But I posted on my X page here today. I said I just made 60% of the stock pretty dang quick. I believe this stock goes to about 275, and then we have a pretty good period of time where the stock just kind of chills out. So that's what I think is kind of going on with Google right now. It's 251. There is a stock that is a constant buy right now, including today. And I'm going to speak about that stock in this video here today. I haven't spoke about it in a little bit here. And yeah, the stock is just an absolute constant buy. It was down here today, and I just looked at the stock, and I'm like, such a great buy right now, okay? After we get done going through that stuff, I got 3 little clips I want to react to in this video here today. First one up here, Cam Dawson on the equity market and her views on where this market's headed from here. Then I'm looking forward to this one. The economy and market are strong, but seeing signs of slowing. I think this was an important one to react to because, I think it's debatable if the economy's strong. So looking forward to reacting to that one.
Okay, this appears to be some type of ASMR type performance. So let's just jump into a breakdown here and get on with our life, okay? The Chris Sane is fun. The Felix is dry, which is nice. The Invest with Corey is motivational. The Meet Kevin can be energetic. But let's just do a little breakdown and get on with the day, all right? Investing doesn't have to be an all-day thing. TAM is the name of the game, very close to that level. It is a healthcare AI stock. It does have that connection to AstraZeneca. It's pretty interesting genomics stock. If you do have any comments on YouTube, I do see those come in. If they're stock related, we do speak to those. If you're on X, YouTube is where it's all at. And this is the third stock of the day. I think has some potential here. It's very close to a all right. It's just one stock, but it's pretty interestingly situated technically. And this could happen by September 1st. July is back here. September 1st is here. This is a significant move. This is what? 60% in a couple months or less. All right. Let's break down here.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam.
I'm not a financial advisor, but this stock may be a great ticker to put $50 in before September 31st. The company is TEM Healthcare Genomics, and they have a collaboration with AstraZeneca. So this is no penny stock. Let's jump into the chart and take a look at what they do to make sure we're being reasonable here. This is that breakout level up around 91.20. It's hidden under my average daily range label here. Side note, the average daily range is used to find stocks that have a range of over 5% a day. That gives you a better likelihood of getting a move. Okay? Could be a move to the downside, right? The more volatile a stock is. And for that reason, the ideas on this channel are around spaces where you can get in with very minimal risk to the downside based on the previous week or so, which we can see here. These days are very compressed. So there's a higher likelihood that the following days will also be compressed if they are to this downside or sideways. However, it gives a higher likelihood as well, combined with that small likelihood of a large downside move with a high likelihood of a larger than average upside move. If that sounds straightforward, let me say it simply. The thing looks like it's about to go up and not down, and it's coiled up, and it looks like there's a lot of buying interest, and it's going sideways, and the volume's trailing off. And when it goes sideways and the volume trails off, there can be boom candles where the volume goes up. So how's that? It's also right near this left side peak that we mentioned exactly at 91.50.45 is that level. So if it gets above there, it really has blue skies because it IPO'd back in June, unless this was an uplist. So let's look at what this company does to make sure we are sort of pretending that we're fundamental investors. Although we don't want to be totally fundamental investors, otherwise our returns will be not great, right? Unless we're working with dozens of billions of dollars like Buffett. This is why this company is legitimate, okay? First off, SoftBank is on the cap table, okay? Well, not on their cap table, but they have SoftBank on their website, I'm sure, and they use it in all their investor relations, I would bet. ARK does own hundreds of thousands of shares. It's the 10th largest holding, 3% of the fund's out, so it's not a big holding, but it's a somewhat good signal given that ARK just broke out, okay, largely due to Tesla being one of its largest positions, but that's a positive signal. And these sort of updates that I scrolled over here are companies that are not in the public eye, but acquiring a genetics testing service for $600 million is no small move. They are looking at sort of niche disease collaborations, which we like to see. They actually know what we're doing, what they're doing, even if we don't know exactly what they're doing. That's why they're the scientists. And they are doing AI analytics stuff, okay, which those buzzwords are A+ buzzwords, okay. RNA-based algorithms sounds pretty biologically, technologically advanced to me, right? Look, they're making partnerships, they're making moves. We're not on the board of this company. We just have to decide if we're going to buy some shares on the open market. And I think it's clear that if they're partnering for multiple years with Pfizer on hot sector initiatives and expanding existing collaborations with huge companies like AstraZeneca in oncology, as well as hundreds of millions of dollars in data licensing and model development fees to the company we're trying to invest in. It's a good sign. They're sort of the hub and spokes, the marketplace selling to these big companies, AstraZeneca as the example there, which is pretty great customer to have as your, I don't know if that's their largest customer, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was. So if it hasn't sort of come out, what do? They basically do, you could have a radiologist look at an x-ray, or you could have a robot look at an x-ray, okay? And that's what they're doing, okay? Imaging. These are the similar tickers. Beam, NTLA, and CRSP are the ones that probably have the most retail interest. CRSP is in a pretty solid spot. Beam is in a pretty solid spot. And NTLA is also in a pretty solid spot. Although I wouldn't buy it today, given that it's extended. This is another indicator along with the average daily range that is fruitful. The distance from the 200-day moving average, which is 50%, and that's above the 30% that would typically be healthy. So this is the stock, DEM. That's the place to buy it. Well, over that level, it has the opportunity to be totally unhindered by previous buyers. And it's possible these guys already sold. Typically 6 months is about the timeline you look for bag holders to exist. After 6 months, it's less likely that those guys are still holding that stock. They might have sold as it got up to almost their position, if not their exact entry. We talked about what they did. They did have this Q2 earnings that was a loss. However, it's common to have a loss and still be worth investing in. Otherwise, again, there would be no startup, growth stories. That's a lot of money. Okay, that was a few years ago, but this is a huge, huge, huge company. It is an $88 stock. It's not a no-name stock, Tempus AI, although it's certainly not in Wall Street Journal or anything like that often. And then for Q2, this is the first indicator of a move in the next few months. Earnings was about a month ago, so we're still getting in before the real takeoff, if the takeoff is to occur. Hundreds of millions of revenue, almost 100% year-over-year increase. Genomics revenue up. I'm not exactly sure what this means. I think this refers to half of 2023's total. So we'll work with that number. Genomics revenue is up a lot, which I think is good, not being a biotech expert. Genomics sounds pretty advanced. Maybe will be a bigger segment in the future. And then look, they have some profit. They did have the loss. They did have a net loss. Huge improvement on that net loss. And I think that's the story here. Okay? So, looks like they've got some outstanding debt. This looks like a pretty favorable rate. I'm not a debt investor, but I think we have enough puzzle pieces here to say, in terms of tossing some money in this thing and being ready to bail if it goes down, we got that $1-2 risk with $10, $20 or more upside. And everything else pretty much falls by the wayside in terms of importance when you've got that and a ton of investors who do exceptionally well. Mind you, look at the chart, see that, and pile in, not even know if Tempest is some type of music tempo service, like a metronome, or what it is. It doesn't even have AI, as something that it is immediately clear based on the name of the ticker, the name of the company, or the sector, which is regenerative medicine. Okay, it's not synonymous with AI, but yeah, Tempest AI. It is in the actual company name. All right, I'll shut up now. If you guys like these breakdowns, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you want to talk, go to stockscommunity.com. You can join for $25. Keeps the bots out. It also shows you're a little bit serious. Might be worth it. 7 days, try it out. We can chat there. As we grow this community, there could be other folks in there who you can bounce ideas off of. You can help each other. It could be pretty fruitful and collaborative. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.